Welcome to Berlin. I'm really happy that you're here. I'm really looking forward to 2 days of insightful engagement with each other. And I would like to start with the article or my email that you may have read when I sent it around that Bill McKibben published in the Rolling Stone magazine a couple of months ago. And the basic ideas were not really new, but like the way he put it together and in the math that he did around kind of struck me, and I believe they are quite directly related to what we are talking about here these 2 days. What he did, he was looking at scientific research and saying, okay, well, what is the total amount of CO2 emissions that we have available to kind of put into the atmosphere until mid-century, 2050? And that's about 565 gigatons of CO2. That's the amount to be able to reasonably stay within a limit of 2 degrees Celsius average global warming. And he compared this figure to the amount of CO2 that is actually embedded in the fossil fuels that are already discovered and in the balance sheets of a lot of companies out there that produce energy and do other things with fossil fuels. And this is the amount that this sums up to. It's about 2,800 gigatons. So it's about 5 times the amount that we can safely kind of put into the atmosphere based on scientific evidence that is kind of in the business cases of a lot of companies out there. And it's not just in the business cases, as fossil fuels provide energy. It's also in the products that we produce and consume indirectly. Like all the fossil fuels are burned for some reason. Some of that may be like specifically linked to your household emissions, but a lot of it is really throughout all kinds of sectors in industry. So energy is really the basis for the value chains that we talk about, and that's not a new insight. And also that we lose a lot of materials in these value chains, which in themselves require a lot of energy to make use of in products and value chains and fully employ in the products that we consume. And what is striking for me or important for me here is to think, okay, well, we have this global picture of CO2 emissions, and we always talk a lot about carbon footprinting, like we have done so a lot over the past years. And carbon footprinting is about climate change. It's about the amount of CO2 emissions in the products, in the value chains that we look at and consume. And I think we should look at the question, okay, well, how are these really linked? Are we making a difference when we speak about carbon footprinting and environmental footprinting, as we always have to, of course, take a comprehensive look at it and see, okay, well, how are we actually making a difference to the bigger picture? And the way we have approached this question here in the PCF World Forum is to say, okay, well, fossil fuels, the alternative to fossil fuels, is obviously linked to renewable energy based on sun, wind, solar, and others. And this is the topic that we took as the main kind of theme for the last PCF World Summit in earlier this year, the 7th PCF World Summit. And another side is the material base, not just in terms of climate change, also for other reasons. There's a need to look at alternatives to come to the products that we all cherish, that we all would like. So there's a lot of effort obviously going into finding alternatives, finding renewable resources to still be able to kind of maintain the kind of economic base that we have. And these two topics are more on the implementation side. So to look, okay, what options do we have available to make low carbon, resource efficient value chains a reality. And the question that we posed last time and that I would like to pose also here is how far is renewable energy and also the use of renewable resources reflected in carbon and environmental footprinting nowadays? And also, how do we ensure when it is used that a reduced climate and environmental impact is really achieved? And I'm aware that this is stretching the notion of carbon footprint, and a lot of experts in the field a bit. At least that's what it kind of is mirrored back to me, because a lot of people say, okay, well, renewable energy, that's something different. Somebody else takes care of that. Or renewable resources, that's not kind of our main theme. We are looking about like assessing the environmental impacts of our products, and so not directly linking to, okay, well, what is the resource base that we look at the end? We believe it's kind of the other side of the coin that needs to be there, and I think these 2 days we have an opportunity to kind of link, especially for renewable resources, that issue a bit with the carbon and environmental footprinting agenda. And I think we should make an effort to also think about, well, who else needs to be in this dialogue around the table to fully embrace these issues, the other side of the coin, in terms of getting to alternatives and real low impact value chains. So in the past, the PCF World Summit featured or addressed a number of issues: building understanding of what is happening around the world, a lot of initiatives that kind of took shape. There was an interest to better understand what is happening in the USA with certain organizations, in standardization, what is happening around communication, labeling, and so on. A big question that emerged was harmonization. How do we bring international standards together? And I think that issue is still there, but also a lot has happened in a way. We have talked a lot about it. International standards such as ISO, Greenhouse Gas Protocol, and PAS 2050 have put a lot of effort into getting more aligned, partly because it was always requested in fora like this. And so there's a lot really happening. Talked a lot about tools, what is possible for companies and other practitioners to really make better use of the methodologies that we developed. Also about special issues like verification, a big issue that is still also relevant, that we have been addressing for the past 2-3 years now, is around product category and sector rules. So how to really define the assessment rules that we have on a general basis, also for a certain product and category, on a product category and sector level. And there, certain initiatives have been started. PCR task force, out of the PCR task force, then activities such as the PCR guidance development that is now taking place. In fact, parallel to this conference, the summit here, an LCA conference is happening in the United States, where the current guidance development document is presented and discussed, and this will be definitely a topic to follow up. And also PCR, thinking about a PCR registry as an outcome of the thinking in the PCR task force, that this would be valid. So a lot of things kind of sparked out of this, or came out of this dialogue. A lot of institutions have been built, more initiatives emerging, capacities have been built in companies, but also with other stakeholders that are now part of what we can do. And in fact, an industry around carbon and environmental footprinting has also emerged. Consultants have more capabilities to actually address and offer services around carbon environmental footprinting, which is a sign that it's a maturing issue. And that's very good, because that's kind of what this dialogue together is about, to really move it forward. And Guido mentioned it so nicely. We're coming here together for a certain purpose, to connect, perhaps. I truly believe, yes. And to understand better, like from each other, with each other, what opportunities may be there. And I think we can recognize that a lot is already happening there, and a lot of people that have participated in this kind of dialogue in the past, they're now very active in dealing within their sector associations with these issues, building capacity there, or engaging with certain of their customers, retailers perhaps in organizations like the Sustainability Consortium, or focus a lot of effort into making sure that methodology development takes place in a well manner, for example, with the European Commission work, or involved in the French environmental labeling scheme. So there's a lot of opportunities nowadays to be part of dialogue and discussions around product sustainability. So here at the PCF World Summit, we have the opportunity to kind of take a step back and look, okay, well, taking all of that into account, and also our own experiences from those initiatives that we are involved in, be it on standardization, on communication, or elsewhere, to kind of bring that all into the discussion here and really think about the blind spots that may still be there, or the opportunities for actually moving forward beyond what we see in these initiatives. And these may be new activities that could be stimulated, but perhaps it's also about strengthening those that are already out there, and getting a better understanding, okay, well, where is really the development happening that we need to move forward in a more, in a faster manner in general. So what we see is definitely a refinement of methodologies and approaches, extension to, for example, other environmental impact categories, perhaps social in the future. We see a lot of implementation activities around carbon and environmental footprinting, capacity building taking place. And what we also see some other developments that kind of go beyond the classic carbon and environmental footprinting agenda. And one topic that is really emerging, I think, over the past year or so, I mean, it has been there before, but like more strongly addressed, is to really understand what are really the hotspots in product categories, in certain sectors, that we can identify, that we have insights on, and specifically address these and identify the reduction opportunities that are there, and perhaps also develop more specific KPIs to measure like the possibilities to actually address these hotspots in certain product categories. And then we have this whole arena of climate criteria certification coming out of an understanding of hotspots, and also as a need to make clear guidelines, for example, for procurement. You need to have clear criteria, kind of checklists, to say, well, when is this a good product? When is this a more climate-friendly product? When is this a more sustainable product? And there we're talking about developing criteria, especially for climate change, climate criteria. And we also see this development more shaping place. We have this kind of standalone initiative in Sweden that we will hear tomorrow about around the climate certification. But we also see a lot of activities, especially around agricultural commodities, where kind of these climate criteria are built into the systems. And these are, of course, related with each other. And if we take a look at the agenda, perhaps you all should have the summit agenda in front of you, the first page. What we will do is, during the 2 days, is in the morning, this morning, it's all about understanding developments of some of the major carbon and environmental footprinting initiatives that most of you are very much aware about. What is the current status of the ISO development and the issues that are discussed there at the moment. We'll hear from Quebec, from the French product environmental footprint, French environmental labeling scheme, especially with the experiment that has now come to a close. We will learn about the Product Sustainability Forum, the first time that we have a presentation here at the PCF World Summit, and this will help us already go into the direction of, well, how do we really address these impacts that products have, more in a hotspot manner, but also very much around methodology. Mark will tell more about it. And then we have decided to take more time for the European footprinting project, which is a major effort currently underway. Definitely, a lot of effort has been put into that, and have hence decided to include several perspectives on it. From the methodology side, we will hear an updated, or like an update on the methodology development from Rana Pant. We'll have an insight from one of the pilot tests, as pilot tests were done with a number of companies to inform the methodology development. We'll have the chance to better understand, okay, how is this reflected in a specific case? And then we have the possibility or the outlook from Michele Galatola on, okay, well, what could this mean for future policy development? What is the outlook when we look at policy options, as this was specifically developed by the European Commission, of course, to do a step forward in this arena. And this can then, of course, be linked to policy. So in the afternoon, we will have then specific dedicated tracks on three fields. One is evidence and insights on renewable resource use, so very much related to the conference theme. We'll have detailed introduction later on after lunch. A second track is around alternative approaches to assessing sustainability in value chains. So there it's really about this hotspot perspective, perhaps also KPI perspective that we could take. And then for the first time, we've decided to also have a carbon footprint for beginners track in the afternoon, which is a possibility to kind of revisit, okay, well, some of the basic ideas behind carbon footprinting, also some case studies that have been done, and go forward with that. And then in the afternoon we have, again, a presentation from one of the long-standing initiatives, the Japanese carbon footprint project. And there I think we see an interesting transformation taking place. So that's kind of why we thought it would also fit to have it in an extra space. It's kind of going through that transformation, and we will learn more about that later this afternoon. Tomorrow we have mainly two topics. One is to go down this climate criteria and certification route on renewable resource use. So what initiatives are there? How do they ensure that renewable resource use really is done in a climate and environmental friendly manner? And in the afternoon, we would like to again take up the basic question of, okay, where are we with carbon footprint reality, linking back to the challenge that we have. Is carbon footprinting, environmental footprinting, and this kind of approach to the private market business approach to addressing climate change. Is that a powerful tool to kind of address the challenge, or do we need something else, something complementary to move on? And to come to a close, I would like to encourage you. Well, let me start with Guido encouraged us to be flexible. The past 2 days, we had a very energetic, interesting, insightful roundtable with a number of product sustainability initiatives, like kind of a broad term, to also reflect on what could be next steps for moving forward and improve or increase or actually leverage collaboration between different product sustainability initiatives. And that is surely an important thing to happen, to increase that kind of collaboration. And a personal insight that I had from these 2 days was that it is very important that we always link back to our own needs and make sure that we address those rather than perhaps thinking too abstract about what could happen, what should happen. And here I would like to encourage you to, and you have written down that purpose, as Guido has invited you to do, to really champion ideas in this forum based on your own needs or perhaps your own vision, what could be out there. There are a lot of people here, a lot of very knowledgeable people that are involved in a lot of activities in this field, and here's the room to really explore together or like make things happen together. But it's up to you to kind of link back to, okay, well, here I have the feeling I could contribute, or I would like to do something, or here's a specific need that I have, and that I could take forward by linking up with others, and then make it happen. This I will skip because you have all seen it, how we function, talking with each other, not about each other, and I invite you to really do this in a very open, respectful manner, and also, and this is what I highlighted in red, not so much perhaps this time talking about standardization, which is important. We always have to keep that in the back of our mind. How do we improve alignment? But perhaps we could also enter a bit of the sphere beyond standardization and looking, okay, well, what are really the opportunities, the steps that we can take now to make climate compatible, a bit German term, I think, products and value chains a reality, so that we really get to the grips with the challenge. So with this, I would like to hand back to Guido, and let's get started.
Thank you, Rasmus.